On her 20th wedding anniversary, 8 months pregnant, she thought she'd be celebrating love. Instead, her billionaire husband ordered her to serve champagne to his 23-year-old mistress. That moment didn't just break her heart, it woke up a side of her he never saw coming. What followed was a battle of betrayal, revenge, and ultimate empowerment that shook the lives of everyone involved. You think you know how this ends? Think again, the final twist will leave you speechless. Stick around, because you're about to hear the story the tabloids wish they'd written. And if you love stories of justice served cold, make sure to hit that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this with someone who needs a reminder of their worth, and subscribe so you never miss the next jaw-dropping story. Victoria, bring my mistress another glass of champagne, the Dom Perignon, not the cheap stuff. Victoria Sterling's voice trembled as she spoke, her refined accent barely masking her exhaustion. Marcus, please, I'm 8 months pregnant. The doctor said I need rest. Marcus Sterling's response came cold and dismissive, each word clipped with impatience. The doctor said bed rest? I don't see you in bed. Now get the champagne. The penthouse apartment overlooks Central Park, its floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting the Manhattan skyline as evening painted the city in shades of golden shadow. Victoria's heels clicked against marble floors as she moved slowly through the space that had once felt like home, but now felt like an expensive prison. One hand supported her swollen belly, while the other gripped the kitchen counter for balance. Tonight was supposed to be their crystal anniversary celebration. 20 years of marriage. 20 years that had somehow led to this moment where she was serving drinks to Brittany Chen, her husband's 23-year-old mistress. "Oh my God, Marcus!" Brittany's voice rang out, high-pitched and punctuated with giggles. "Like, she's so slow. Is this what happens when women get old? She's what, 45? Victoria's internal monologue whispered the correction even as her lips remained sealed. 42. She was 42 years old, the same age as Marcus, though he seemed to have conveniently forgotten that fact when he started dating someone young enough to be their daughter. Marcus laughed, the sound carrying across the room like broken glass. "Brittany, darling, be nice. Victoria's doing her best. Aren't you?" "Victoria." The champagne bottle felt heavy in Victoria's hands as she returned to the living room. The Baccarat crystal flutes Marcus had insisted on buying for their 10th anniversary caught the light, mocking her with memories of better times. Her hands shook as she poured, exhaustion and humiliation making her movements unsteady. The golden liquid spilled across Brittany's designer dress, a red creation that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Brittany shrieked, jumping up from the white leather sofa. "You stupid cow, you did that on purpose." Marcus roared to his feet, his face flushing red. Victoria apologized immediately? For 20 years, Victoria had apologized. She'd apologized when Marcus came home late from the office. She'd apologized when his business deals fell through. She'd apologized when she miscarried their first child, and he said it was because she was too stressed from her surgical residency. She'd apologized when she gave up her medical career to support his dreams. But tonight, something inside her finally snapped. Victoria straightened her spine, finding strength she'd forgotten she possessed. "No." The single word hung in the air like a challenge, like a revolution, like the first crack in a dam about to burst. Marcus's voice turned dangerous, the tone she'd learned to fear over 2 decades. "What did you say?" "I said no. Marcus, I won't apologize. Not anymore." "Have you lost your mind?" Marcus stepped closer, his 6'2" frame looming over her. "You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing me." Victoria's hand moved protectively to her belly where their child kicked, as if sensing the tension. "I'm embarrassing you. I'm 8 months pregnant with your child, and you have me serving champagne to your mistress in our home, on our anniversary, and I'm the embarrassing one." Brittany's voice cut through, whiny and entitled. "Baby, make her stop. She's, like, totally ruining our evening." "Our evening?" Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. "This is my home, my anniversary, my husband. Though I'm starting to realize he hasn't been mine for a very long time." Marcus grabbed her arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. "You're being hysterical. It's the pregnancy hormones. Go to your room and calm down." "My room." Victoria yanked her arm free. You mean the guest bedroom you moved me into 6 months ago because my snoring was disturbing your sleep? While she sleeps in our marital bed, the truth of it all came pouring out. 20 years of suppressed pain flowing like water through a broken dam. I gave up everything for you, Marcus. My career, my dreams, my identity. I became invisible so you could shine. And this is what I get, serving drinks to your mistress while carrying your child. Marcus's face contorted with rage. You got a life of luxury, this penthouse, designer clothes, jewelry. Women would kill for what you have. What I have? Victoria's voice rose for the first time in years. I have a husband who treats me like hired help. I have a marriage that's a sham. I have stretch marks and swollen ankles and a broken heart. That's what I have. Marcus, Brittany giggled inappropriately. Wow, she's, like, totally losing it. This is better than reality TV. That was the final straw. Victoria turned to the younger woman, her voice steady and cold. You think this is entertainment? You're 23 years old, sleeping with a married man whose wife is 8 months pregnant? What exactly do you think that makes you? It makes me the woman he actually wants, Brittany shot back, wrapping her arms around Marcus possessively. Victoria nodded slowly. You're right. You are the woman he wants, and you know what you can have him. Every lying, cheating, narcissistic inch of him. She turned to leave, but Marcus's voice stopped her. Where do you think you're going? You have nowhere to go. Victoria, no money of your own, no career, no skills. You need me. Victoria paused at the doorway, looking back at the man she'd once loved enough to give up everything. You're wrong, Marcus. I don't need you. I haven't needed you for a long time. I just forgot who I was without you. But I'm about to remember. As she walked toward the door, she heard Brittany ask, should we, stop her? Marcus's response was casual, dismissive. Let her go. She'll be back in an hour. She always comes back. But as Victoria stepped into the elevator, she knew with absolute certainty that this time was different. This time, she wasn't coming back. The elevator doors closed on 20 years of marriage, and for the first time in decades, Victoria Sterling felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. 20 minutes later, Victoria stumbled out of the elevator into the building's marble lobby. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the champagne that Brittany had thrown at her in retaliation before she left. Her designer maternity dress, a gift from Marcus that she now realized was just another chain disguised as silk, was stained and ruined. Victoria, oh my God, what has he done now? The voice was familiar, strong, commanding. Victoria looked up through her tears to see Valentina Matthews, her identical twin sister, though no one would confuse them tonight. Where Victoria looked broken, Valentina radiated power in her tailored Tom Ford suit. As CEO of a tech empire worth $2 billion, Valentina commanded attention wherever she went. But right now, all her attention was focused on her sister. Val, Victoria's voice broke. What are you doing here? George called me, Valentina said, nodding toward the night doorman who'd worked in the building for 15 years. He was worried about you. George stepped forward, his weathered face kind. I hope you don't mind, Mrs. Sterling, but when I saw Mr. Sterling bring that young lady up earlier, and it being your anniversary and all, I thought you might need family. Victoria's tears came harder. After 20 years, the doorman remembered their anniversary when her own husband had forgotten. Valentina's voice hardened as she took in her sister's state. Tell me everything, and I mean everything. Victoria collapsed into her sister's arms, the familiar scent of her perfume bringing back memories of when they were young, before Marcus, before everything went wrong. Val, I can't do this anymore. He made me serve her drinks, his mistress, while I'm carrying his child. Valentina's response was ice. That's completely unacceptable. It was her catchphrase when angry, something she'd said since they were children. But now, with the power and resources of a billionaire CEO behind it, the words carried weight. Pack your thing, Valentina continued. You're leaving tonight. But Val, I have nowhere to go. Marcus controls everything. The accounts, the credit cards, Even my cell phone is on his plan. I haven't had my own money in 20 years. You have me. You've always had me. I have a plan. Victoria. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe. Victoria shook her head. I can't impose on you. You have your own life, your company to run. Valentina gripped her sister's shoulders, looking her directly in the eyes. Listen to me. You are not an imposition. You are my sister, my twin. When he hurts you, I feel it. When you gave up your dreams for his, I watched a part of you die. I've been waiting 20 years for you to be ready to leave him. I have a team of lawyers on standby. I have a place for you to stay. I have everything ready. All you had to do was say the word. You've been planning this since the day 5 years ago when you showed up at my office with a black eye and told me you walked into a door. Since the day 10 years ago when he humiliated you at the charity gala. Since the day 20 years ago when he made you sign that prenup 3 days before your wedding. I've been waiting. Victoria, and I've been preparing. The sisters moved through the lobby, George pretending not to see Victoria's tears or hear their conversation. As they reached the door, he spoke softly. Mrs. Sterling, should I call your car? Valentina answered for her sister. No need. George, my driver's outside. And George, if Mr. Sterling asks, you haven't seen Victoria tonight. George nodded, his expression serious. Haven't seen a thing. Ms. Valentina, not a thing. Though I might mention I saw Mrs. Sterling's sister arrive looking concerned about a family emergency. Upstate, I believe. Something about their mother being ill. Valentina smiled. Their mother's been dead for 10 years. George, has she now? Well, Mr. Sterling never did pay much attention to his wife's family. Did he? In the car, Victoria stared at her wedding ring. 20 years of memories condensed into a single band of platinum. The engagement ring beside it, a 5-carat diamond that Marcus had chosen to impress his business partners rather than please her. Caught the streetlights as they drove through Manhattan, Victoria whispered, her voice carrying years of pain. How did I let it get this bad? Val, when did I become invisible in my own life? I used to be a surgeon. I used to save lives. Now I can't even save myself. Valentina gripped her hand tightly. The moment you started believing his version of who you were, instead of remembering who you actually are. He's a narcissist. Vic, they're experts at rewriting reality. But that ends tonight. I don't even know where to start. Divorce, I signed a prenup. Marcus had me sign it 3 days before the wedding. He said if I loved him, I'd sign it without reading it. That it was just a formality his lawyers insisted on. The prenup that was signed under duress, the one where he hid millions in assets, the one my forensic accountants have been documenting violations of for the past 3 years. That prenup, Victoria's eyes widened. You've been investigating him. I've been protecting you, even when you couldn't protect yourself. That's what family does. As they drove through the city, Victoria watched the familiar landmarks pass by. 20 years in New York as Mrs. Marcus Sterling. 20 years of charity galas and business dinners where she was introduced as Marcus's wife, as if she had no identity of her own. Val, I'm scared, Victoria admitted. I'm 8 months pregnant. I haven't worked in 20 years. What if he's right? What if I can't make it on my own? Valentina's voice was fierce. You are Dr. Victoria Matthews. You graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Medical School. You were one of the most promising surgical residents at Mount Sinai before you gave it up for him. You are brilliant, capable, and stronger than you know. And you're not on your own. You have me, and I have resources Marcus Sterling can't even imagine. He's worth $3 billion. Val, money he made on the foundation you helped him build, with connections from your father, with your sacrifice. Half of that is rightfully yours. But more than that, I'm worth $2 billion myself, and every penny of it is at your disposal to fight him. Victoria felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Safety. Why didn't I leave sooner? Because leaving an abusive relationship is the hardest thing in the world. Because he isolated you from everyone who loved you. Because he made you believe you were worthless without him. But you're leaving now, and that's what matters. The car pulled up to a building on the Upper West Side, far from the penthouse that had been Victoria's prison. "What is this place?" Victoria asked. "Your new beginning," Valentina replied. "I bought this apartment 5 years ago. It's been waiting for you. Fully furnished, security system, everything you need, and it's in my name, so Marcus can't touch it." As they entered the apartment, Victoria gasped. It was beautiful but comfortable. Nothing like the cold modern showpiece Marcus had insisted on. There were soft fabrics, warm colors, and most importantly, there were photographs on the walls. Pictures of Victoria and Valentina as children. Pictures of Victoria in her surgical scrubs, young and bright-eyed. Pictures of the life she'd had before Marcus Sterling consumed it. "I can't accept this. Val, it's too much. It's not enough. Not nearly enough to make up for 20 years of watching my sister disappear piece by piece. But it's a start." Victoria's phone rang. Marcus's name appeared on the screen. "Don't answer it," Valentina advised. But Victoria did, putting it on speaker. "What do you want, Marcus?" "What do I want? What do I want? You humiliated me in front of Brittany. Get back here right now and apologize." "No, this is ridiculous. Victoria, you're being emotional. Think about the baby. You need to be in your own home." "That's not my home anymore." "Marcus, maybe it never was. If you don't come back tonight, I'm cutting off all your credit cards." Valentina took the phone. "Hello, Marcus. This is Valentina. Go ahead and cut them off. Victoria won't be needing them anymore." "Valentina, what are you doing with my wife?" "Your wife? You mean the woman you've been emotionally and financially abusing for 20 years? The woman carrying your child, who you had serving drinks to your mistress? That wife. This is none of your business. My sister is my business, and as of tonight, she's represented by Hartley, Brennan, and Associates. You'll be hearing from them in the morning." "You can't be serious. Victoria, you're going to let your sister ruin our marriage." Victoria took the phone back. "You ruined our marriage, Marcus. The first time you cheated, the first time you hit me, the first time you made me feel worthless, Valentina's just helping me bury what's been dead for years." She hung up, then did something she hadn't done in a decade. She turned off her phone. "How does it feel?" Valentina asked. Victoria placed her hand on her belly, feeling her daughter kick. "Terrifying and free, terrifyingly free." 1 hour later, Valentina stood in the foyer of Marcus's penthouse. She'd insisted Victoria stay at the new apartment and rest while she handled this confrontation. The space reeked of expensive cologne and cheaper perfume. The remnants of Marcus and Brittany's evening. Marcus's voice boomed through the apartment. "Valentina, what are you doing here? Where's Victoria?" "She's safe. Away from you." Marcus appeared in the foyer, his hair disheveled, his shirt untucked. He'd been drinking heavily since Victoria left. She could tell. "She's my wife. She belongs here. She's a human being, Marcus, not property, though I understand you might have forgotten the difference. Don't be dramatic. Victoria's perfectly happy. She's just having pregnancy hormones." Valentina laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Happy she's 8 months pregnant, and you had her serving drinks to your mistress. What kind of man does that? A man who knows his worth? I'm Marcus Sterling. I built a $3 billion empire. I deserve to have what I want. You deserve exactly what you've earned, Marcus, and that bill is about to come due." Brittany's voice piped up from the living room, slurred with champagne. "Baby, who's at the door?" Valentina called out, her voice carrying clearly. "His sister-in-law, the one with the better lawyers." Brittany appeared, wobbling on her designer heels. "Oh, you're the twin, the one who's, like, still single at 40-something. Marcus says you're jealous of Victoria because she got married and you didn't." Valentina smiled coldly. "I'm single by choice, dear. Your boyfriend is about to be single by court order." Marcus stepped closer, trying to use his height to intimidate. "You think you can threaten me? I'll destroy both of you. I'll make sure Victoria never sees a penny. She signed a prenup. The prenup she signed under duress. 3 days before the wedding, when you threatened to call it off if she didn't sign the one where you hid assets worth millions. My forensic accountants are going to have a field day." "You're bluffing." Am I check your email? Marcus, you'll find a cease and desist letter from Hartley. Brennan and Associates. That's right. The same firm that handled the Worthington divorce. Remember him? He thought he was untouchable too. Now he's living in a 2-bedroom condo in Jersey. Marcus pulled out his phone, his face paling as he read. This says you're claiming marital assets worth $50 million in offshore accounts. That's insane. I don't have offshore accounts. Grand Cayman, account number ending in 4729, 17 million. Switzerland, account ending in 816, 23 million. Shall I continue? Or would you prefer to discuss the property in the Hamptons that's mysteriously in Brittany's name, despite being purchased with marital funds? Brittany's eyes widened. Baby, what's she talking about? Nothing. She's fishing. Valentina pulled out a folder. Fishing? Here are the bank statements. Here are the property deeds. Here's the paper trail showing systematic financial abuse and asset hiding. You've been stealing from your wife for years. Marcus? It's my money, I earned it. With the initial investment from Victoria's father. With Victoria working 18-hour days for free in the early years. With the connections from Victoria's medical network. With the respectability that being married to Dr. Victoria Matthews gave you when you were just another Wall Street wannabe. You built your empire on her sacrifice. Marcus's face turned red. She was nothing when I met her. Just another resident working 100-hour weeks for peanuts. I gave her everything. You took everything. Her career, her confidence, her identity. But that ends now. You can't prove any of this. I don't have to prove it, Marcus. You're going to give Victoria everything she deserves, or I'm going to make sure everyone in New York knows exactly who you are. Every business partner, every country club member, every society page editor. They're all going to know that Marcus Sterling, the great businessman, is nothing but a common thief who stole from his pregnant wife. Brittany tugged on Marcus's arm. Baby, maybe you should, just give her what she wants. Marcus turned on her. Shut up, Brittany. You don't understand business. I understand that she has, evidence and stuff, and I don't want to be involved in anything illegal. Valentina laughed. Smart girl. You might want to distance yourself from this sinking ship while you can. She's not going anywhere, Marcus said, grabbing Brittany's arm roughly. Ow, baby, you're hurting me. Valentina stepped forward. And there's the real Marcus Sterling, the one who hurts women when he doesn't get his way. Tell me, Brittany, has he hit you yet, or is that pleasure still waiting for you? He would never, Brittany protested, but her eyes showed doubt. Ask Victoria about the bruises she covered with concealer for 20 years. Ask her about the business trip to Tokyo where he pushed her down the stairs. Ask her about the miscarriage that happened after he shoved her during an argument. Marcus lunged forward. You lying! Valentina didn't flinch. Touch me and I'll have you arrested so fast your head will spin. I'm not Victoria. I haven't been broken down by 20 years of your abuse, and I have security waiting in the hallway. As if on cue, 2 large men in suits appeared in the doorway. Everything all right, Ms. Matthews? One asked. Perfect timing, James. Mr. Sterling was just agreeing to our terms. I'm not agreeing to anything. Then I'll see you in court. And Marcus Court means public records. Public records mean newspaper stories. Newspaper stories mean everyone knowing that the great Marcus Sterling is nothing but a narcissistic abuser who forced his pregnant wife to serve his mistress. How do you think your board of directors will react to that? Marcus's phone rang. He looked at the screen and paled. It's Davidson, from the board. Answer it, Valentina suggested. I'm sure he's calling about something completely unrelated to the email I sent him an hour ago. Marcus answered, his voice strained. Hello, Davidson. Yes, I understand. Tomorrow morning. Of course. He hung up, his face ashen. You contacted my board. I contacted everyone. Your board, your investors, your golf buddies. They all received a very professional letter expressing concern about your recent erratic behavior and its potential impact on Sterling Industries' reputation. Nothing specific, of course, just enough to make them ask questions. This is blackmail. This is consequences. Marcus, Something you've never had to face before. Valentina turned to leave, then paused. You have 48 hours to agree to our terms. Full financial disclosure, fair division of assets, full custody to Victoria with supervised visitation for you, or we go public with everything. And if I agree, then you get to keep your reputation, what's left of it. You get to tell people the divorce was mutual. You get to pretend you're not the monster we both know you are. As she walked to the door, Brittany called out, "Wait, what about me?" Valentina looked back at the young woman with something almost like pity. You're 23 years old. You have your whole life ahead of you. Don't waste it on a man who will treat you exactly the way he treated his wife once the novelty wears off. He loves me. He loves himself. Everyone else is just a prop in the Marcus Sterling show. Victoria was the devoted wife prop for 20 years. Now you're the hot young mistress prop, but props are replaceable. Just ask his first mistress, or his second, or his third. Marcus shouted, "Get out." Gladly. 48 hours. Marcus, use them wisely. As Valentina left, she heard Brittany ask, "Baby, is it true? Were there others?" She didn't hear Marcus's answer, but she heard the sound of glass breaking and Brittany's frightened yelp. By the time she reached the lobby, she was already texting her lawyer. George was still at his post. "Everything all right, Miss Valentina?" "It will be, George." "Very soon. It will be." The next morning, Victoria sat in Valentina's Tribeca office, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased the city she'd once loved. The space was everything Marcus's penthouse wasn't: warm, inviting, filled with plants and personal touches. This was a space where real work happened, not just posturing. Victoria's phone rang. The caller ID showed Eleanor Sterling, Marcus's mother. Victoria put it on speaker so Valentina could hear. Eleanor's voice dripped condescension through the speaker. "Victoria, dear, Marcus told me about your little tantrum last night. Really, at your age, such dramatics. You should be grateful he keeps you at all." Victoria started to respond, her old habits of apologizing rising to the surface. But Valentina took the phone. "Eleanor, this is Valentina. Your son is about to learn what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness." Eleanor huffed. "Valentina, you always were too aggressive for your own good. No wonder you're still single at 42. "I'm single by choice. Eleanor, your son is about to be single by court order. And that prenup you encouraged, it has more holes than Swiss cheese. That prenup is ironclad. My lawyers drew it up themselves. Your lawyers who didn't disclose 40 million in hidden assets, those lawyers, they might want to check their malpractice insurance." There was silence on the other end. Then Eleanor's voice, less certain now. 40 million. That's absurd. 50 million, actually. We found another 10 million this morning. Swiss accounts, Cayman Island holdings, shell companies. Your son has been very busy hiding money from his wife, from the IRS too. Possibly. That's going to be an interesting conversation. Eleanor's voice turned sharp. "You're threatening my son. I'm stating facts. Your son has been financially abusing my sister for 20 years. He's hidden assets, transferred property illegally, and committed what could be construed as fraud. You have a choice. Eleanor, you can support him in this and go down with him, or you can convince him to do the right thing for once in his life." "I don't respond to threats." "Then respond to this. Victoria is carrying your grandchild, your first grandchild. Do you want that child born into a scandal? Do you want your grandchild's first Google search of their father to reveal bankruptcy, fraud charges, and abuse allegations?" The line went quiet for a moment. Marcus said Victoria was being unreasonable. Victoria finally spoke up, her voice stronger than it had been in years. "Eleanor, your son had me serving champagne to his mistress while I'm 8 months pregnant. On our 20th anniversary? What exactly is reasonable about that? Men have needs. Victoria, you should have taken better care of yourself. Maybe if you hadn't let yourself go, let myself go, I'm pregnant with his child, a child he claimed he wanted for years." Valentina took the phone back. "Eleanor, I'm going to say this once. Your son is an abuser. He's hit Victoria, he's stolen from her, and he's destroyed her self-worth systematically for 2 decades. You can either help us resolve this quietly, or watch your family name get dragged through the mud publicly. Your choice. Eleanor's response was cold. I'll speak to Marcus. The line went dead. James, Valentina's assistant, entered with his distinctive British accent. Right then, Ms. Valentina, the forensic team found something interesting in Mr. Sterling's offshore accounts, Victoria gasped. There's more. Right then, there's quite a bit more. Mr. Sterling has been transferring assets to Miss Chen for the past 18 months. The apartment in Soho, the Mercedes, even a small yacht. Victoria's voice broke. A yacht. He bought her a yacht. I haven't had a vacation in 3 years. He said we couldn't afford it, that the business was going through a rough patch. Valentina's voice was grim. The business has been posting record profits. He's been lying to you about everything. How did I not see this? Because he's a narcissist, and they're experts at gaslighting. Every time you question something, he made you think you were crazy, too emotional, unreasonable. It's textbook financial abuse. James continued reading from his report. Right then, there's also the matter of the life insurance policies. Mr. Sterling took out a $5 million policy on Mrs. Sterling 6 months ago. She's not the beneficiary. Victoria went pale. Who is? The policies list a trust. We're still tracking down the beneficiaries, but it appears to be connected to Ms. Chen. Valentina stood up, pacing. He was planning this. He was going to leave you with nothing. Worse than nothing. He was profiting from your existence while giving you nothing in return. Victoria's hand went to her belly protectively. What about the baby? Surely he made provisions for our child. James shook his head. Nothing. Mrs. Sterling. No college fund. No trust. Nothing. But he always said the baby would have everything. He lied, Valentina said simply. He's been lying from the beginning. Victoria's phone buzzed with a text. It was from Marcus. You have 1 hour to come home or I'm filing for divorce on grounds of abandonment. Valentina laughed. Abandonment after what he did last night, he's delusional. He's desperate, Victoria realized. He's never had anyone stand up to him before. Right then, James interjected. There's one more thing. We've been monitoring Ms. Chen's social media. She posted something interesting an hour ago. He showed them his phone. Brittany had posted a photo of herself with a bruised arm, captioned, When you realize Prince Charming is actually the villain, time to find my own happy ending. Victoria felt a strange mix of vindication and pity. He hurt her, just like he hurt me. The cycle continues, Valentina said. Unless we stop it now. Victoria stood up. Decision made. Call the lawyers. I want to file for divorce today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Are you sure once we file, there's no going back? Victoria thought about 20 years of being invisible, of serving drinks to his mistress, of covering bruises with concealer and lies. There's already no going back. The woman who would have forgiven him died last night when he made me serve that champagne. It's time for Dr. Victoria Matthews to be reborn. That afternoon, Victoria and Valentina sat in a corner booth at La Bernardin, the upscale Manhattan restaurant where Victoria had celebrated her last birthday alone while Marcus was supposedly at a business dinner. Now she knew better. Now she knew everything had been a lie. 3 tables away, they heard a familiar giggle. Brittany Chen sat with a friend, her voice carrying across the restaurant. Like, oh my God, Jennifer, you should have seen her face. The fat cow actually thought Marcus loved her. Victoria started to rise, but Valentina held her back, whispering, Wait, let her keep talking. James, are you recording this? James, who had positioned himself at the bar with a clear view of their table, spoke quietly into his phone. Right then, every word, Brittany's friend Jennifer responded. But isn't she pregnant with his baby? Brittany laughed, the sound cruel and careless. So what Marcus already promised me that once the baby's born, we'll take it and raise it ourselves. Victoria can visit, like once a month or whatever. Victoria's hands clenched into fists. Her baby. They were planning to take her baby. Jennifer sounded shocked. Can he do that? He's Marcus Sterling. He can do anything. He has, like, The best lawyers and stuff. He says Victoria is mentally unstable, that she can't care for a baby. He's been documenting everything, making her look crazy. But she's the mother. Not for long. Marcus says the pregnancy was, like, totally an accident anyway. He was going to divorce her last year, but then she got knocked up. He thinks she did it on purpose to trap him, Valentina whispered to Victoria. The pregnancy you tried for 3 years to achieve the fertility treatments he insisted on because he wanted an heir. Victoria nodded, unable to speak through her rage. Jennifer asked, "But what about the money? Won't she get half?" "That's the best part. She signed this prenup thingy. She gets, like, nothing. Maybe $100,000 or something pathetic like that. Marcus and I are going to be so rich. He promised me a house in the Hamptons and everything." "Wow, you really hit the jackpot." "I know, right. And the best part is, she's so beaten down she'll probably just, like, accept it. Marcus says she hasn't fought back once in 20 years. "She's pathetic," Victoria whispered to Valentina, her voice carrying years of pain. "You know what hurts the most? It's not the money or even the mistress. It's that I gave him 20 years, the best years of my life, and to him, I'm just an inconvenience. When did I become so invisible that my own humanity didn't matter?" Valentina squeezed her hand. "You're not invisible, Vic. You never were. He just trained you to dim your light so his could shine brighter." "But your light is about to blind him," Brittany continued, loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. "Marcus is taking me to Paris next week. He's going to propose at the Eiffel Tower. He already showed me the ring. It's, like, 10 carats, Jennifer gasped. "But he's still married." "Not for long. His lawyer says the divorce will be final in, like, 2 months max. Then we'll have a huge wedding in the Hamptons. I'm thinking June. You know. Although Marcus wants to wait until after the baby is born so he can have custody sorted out." "This is insane. Brittany, you're talking about stealing someone's baby." Brittany's voice turned cold. "It's not stealing if the father has custody. And Marcus will have custody. He has connections everywhere. Judges, lawyers, even doctors who will say Victoria is unfit." Victoria stood up abruptly. Valentina tried to stop her, but Victoria was done hiding. She walked over to Brittany's table, her presence commanding despite her pregnancy. "Hello, Brittany?" Brittany's face went white. "Victoria, I didn't. How long have you been here?" "Long enough to hear your plans for my child." "My child. Brittany, the one growing inside me, the one you will never, ever touch." "I don't know what you think you heard." "I heard everything. So did my lawyer, and so did the recording device he's been holding." James appeared beside them. "Right then, Miss Chen, every word has been captured for posterity, including your admission that Mr. Sterling is planning to commit custody fraud." Brittany stood up, trying to maintain her bravado. "You can't record me without my permission. That's, like, illegal." "New York is a one-party consent state," Valentina said, joining them. "We only need one person's consent to record, and that would be ours. You just gave us evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud, custody manipulation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress." Jennifer, Brittany's friend, stood up. "I had nothing to do with this. I was just listening." Victoria looked at her. "And what did you think of what you heard?" Jennifer met her eyes. "I think it's disgusting. I think you deserve better. And I think Brittany should be ashamed of herself." She turned to Brittany. "We're done. Don't call me again." And she walked out. Brittany's bravado crumbled. "You can't use this against Marcus. He'll destroy you." Victoria laughed. Actually laughed. "He already destroyed me. Or at least, he destroyed the woman I used to be. But you know what, I'm grateful. Because the woman I'm becoming, she's going to destroy him right back." The restaurant manager approached. "Is there a problem here?" "Ladies," Valentina smiled. "No problem at all. We were just leaving. Though you might want to ask Miss Chen to keep her voice down. She's been disturbing your other patrons with talk of stealing babies and committing fraud." Several diners who had been listening looked at Brittany with disgust. One woman actually moved her baby's stroller further away, as if Brittany's corruption might be contagious. As they left, Victoria turned back one more time. Brittany, that 10-carat ring Marcus showed you, I picked it out 5 years ago for our 25th anniversary. He's not even original in his deception. Outside the restaurant, Victoria took deep breaths of the cool autumn air. I can't believe she was planning to take my baby. She won't get near your child, Valentina promised. We have everything we need now. Marcus is finished. Right then, James added. Shall I send the recording to the legal team? Immediately. And James sent a copy to Marcus too. Let him know his mistress just handed us the smoking gun. Victoria's phone rang. It was Marcus. Don't answer it, Valentina advised. But Victoria did, putting it on speaker. What do you want, Marcus? What have you done? Brittany just called me crying, saying you ambushed her at a restaurant. I was having lunch with my sister. Your mistress was the one announcing to the entire restaurant how she planned to steal my baby. She would never. We have the recording. Marcus, your mistress admitting you plan to take custody through fraud, that you've been documenting fake evidence of my instability, that you're hiding assets. It's over. Victoria, let's be reasonable. Come home and we can work this out. The only thing we're working out is the divorce settlement. And Marcus, that prenup you're so proud of, it has a clause about fraud. If either party commits fraud, the entire agreement is void. Hiding $50 million in offshore accounts, that's fraud. There was silence on the other end. 50 million. Marcus's voice was weak. How did you? My sister has better forensic accountants than you have lawyers. We know everything. Marcus, every hidden account, every transferred asset, every lie you've told for 20 years. This is Valentina's doing. She's poisoned you against me. Victoria's voice was strong, clear. No, Marcus, you poisoned yourself. Valentina just helped me find the antidote. She hung up, then turned to her sister. I'm ready to fight. For my child, for my future, for the 20 years I lost. I'm ready. Valentina hugged her carefully, mindful of the baby bump. That's my sister, the fighter I remember from medical school. Welcome back, Dr. Matthews. 3 days later, the Sterling Industries boardroom was in chaos. Marcus had called an emergency meeting, but he wasn't the one running it. His voice echoed through the speakerphone as he shouted from his car, stuck in manufactured traffic that Valentina's connections had arranged. What do you mean there's an emergency board meeting? I didn't call any meeting. Mrs. Patterson, the board secretary who had worked for the company for 15 years, spoke nervously. Mr. Sterling, the meeting was called by your newest majority shareholder. What majority shareholder? I own 51% of this company. Valentina's voice cut in, smooth as silk. Actually, Marcus, you own 49%, your wife owns 2%, or did you forget the shares you gifted her for your 10th anniversary, back when you still pretended to love her? Those shares are meaningless. Not when combined with the 49% I just purchased from your silent partners. You know, the ones you've been underpaying for years. They were quite eager to sell. The boardroom door burst open. Marcus rushed in, his face red with exertion and rage. Valentina, you can't do this. I just did. Effective immediately, you're removed as CEO of Sterling Industries. This is my company. I built it from nothing. Victoria stood up from her seat at the table, where she'd been hidden by the high-backed chair. With my father's money, with my connections, with my sacrifice. Marcus's face went white. Victoria, what are you doing here? Taking back what's mine. This company exists because I gave up my surgical career to support you, because I convinced my father to invest, because I worked 18-hour days without pay in the early years. I may have been invisible to you, Marcus, but the board sees me clearly now. Mr. Davidson, the senior board member, spoke up. The vote was unanimous. Marcus, your recent behavior has become a liability to the company's reputation. What behavior? Having a personal life, Valentina responded coolly. Embezzling funds to maintain your mistress. Yes, that's generally frowned upon. Another board member, Mrs. Chen, added, we've also received disturbing reports about your treatment of your pregnant wife, forcing her to serve your mistress in this climate of accountability. You've become a PR nightmare waiting to happen. Marcus looked around the room wildly. You can't do this. I have contracts. I have a golden parachute, which is void if you're removed for cause, Victoria said, reading from a document. Embezzlement is cause. Fraud is cause. Bringing the company into disrepute is cause. Should I continue? This is insane. I'll sue every one of you. With what money? Valentina asked. Your assets are frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Your credit cards connected to the company have been canceled. Even your company car is being repossessed as we speak. Marcus lunged toward Victoria, but two security guards stepped forward. I wouldn't. Mr. Sterling, one said. We've been instructed to escort you out if you become violent. Marcus pointed at Victoria, his finger shaking with rage. You did this. You vindictive. Careful, Valentina warned. Defamation is another lawsuit waiting to happen. Victoria stood, one hand on her belly. I didn't do this. Marcus, you did. Every lie, every betrayal, every act of cruelty led to this moment. You thought I was weak because I was kind. You thought I was stupid because I was trusting, but I was neither. I was just in love with a man who didn't exist. I made you, Marcus shouted. You were nothing before me. I was a surgeon before you. I was happy before you. I was whole before you. You didn't make me. Marcus, you broke me, but broken things can be rebuilt stronger. The boardroom phone rang. Mrs. Patterson answered it, then looked at Marcus. Mr. Sterling, it's the SEC. They want to discuss some irregularities in the company's financial reports. Marcus's face went from red to white. The SEC, Valentina smiled. Oh, did I forget to mention when we found those offshore accounts? We also found some interesting tax discrepancies. As good citizens, we felt obligated to report them. You're destroying everything I built. No, Victoria said quietly. We're revealing what you built. A house of cards constructed on lies, theft, and the broken dreams of everyone who loved you. Security stepped forward. Mr. Sterling, we need to escort you out now. As they led him to the door, Marcus turned back. This isn't over. Victoria, I'll fight you on everything. The divorce, the company, the baby, everything. Victoria met his gaze steadily. I'm counting on it, because every time you fight, you reveal more of who you really are, and the whole world is watching now. Marcus. After he was gone, the boardroom was silent for a moment. Then Mr. Davidson spoke. Mrs. Sterling, the board would like to offer you the position of interim CEO. Victoria shook her head. Thank you, but no. I'm 8 months pregnant, and I have a different path to follow. I nominate my sister, Valentina Matthews, for the position. She has the experience, the vision, and most importantly, the integrity this company needs. The vote was unanimous. As they left the boardroom, Valentina took her sister's arm. You could have had it all. The company, the power, the vindication of running Marcus's empire. I don't want his empire, Victoria said. I want my life back. I want to be Dr. Matthews again. I want to raise my daughter knowing her worth isn't determined by any man, billionaire or otherwise. Right then, James appeared beside them. Ms. Victoria, there's something else. Mr. Sterling's mother is in the lobby. She wants to speak with you. That evening, the annual Manhattan Charity Gala for Maternal Health was in full swing at the Plaza Hotel. 500 of New York's elite had gathered, expecting the usual evening of champagne and calculated charity. They were about to get much more. The announcer's voice boomed across the ballroom. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next honored guests, Mr. Marcus Sterling and Ms. Brittany Chen. A ripple of whispers swept through the crowd. Everyone had expected Victoria Sterling, who had been the charity's biggest supporter for years. Suddenly, another voice came from the entrance. Actually, I believe you mean Mr. Marcus Sterling, soon-to-be defendant in Sterling versus Sterling. The crowd turned as one. Valentina entered with Victoria, who looked radiant in a flowing designer gown that had been custom-made to accentuate her pregnancy. It was a deep sapphire blue that matched her eyes, with delicate beading that caught the light. She looked like a goddess of motherhood, powerful and serene. Marcus hissed from across the room. Victoria, you're making a scene. Victoria's voice carried clearly across the ballroom. No, Marcus, you made the scene when you brought your mistress to a charity event honoring maternal health. The irony isn't lost on anyone. The crowd was transfixed. This was better than any Broadway show. Mrs. Blackwell, the event coordinator, approached quickly. Mrs. Sterling, we're so honored you could attend. As our largest donor to the maternal health wing, would you say a few words? Marcus interjected loudly. She's not the largest. Valentina cut him off. Actually, she is. The $10 million donation in her name cleared this morning. $10 million. Marcus's face went purple. That's my money. No, Marcus, Victoria said calmly. It's marital assets. And according to New York state law, I have equal say in charitable contributions. Brittany's voice went shrill. Baby, do something. The crowd watched in fascination as one of New York's power couples imploded in real time. Phone cameras appeared discreetly, and within minutes, the confrontation was trending on social media. Victoria took the microphone from Mrs. Blackwell. Good evening, everyone. I want to talk about strength tonight. Not the kind that comes from money or power, but the kind that comes from surviving betrayal and choosing yourself. She paused, looking directly at Marcus. For 20 years, I believed that love meant making yourself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. I believed that sacrifice meant giving up everything you are for someone who gives nothing back. I was wrong. The room was silent, hanging on every word. Tonight, I stand before you 8 months pregnant, getting divorced from a man who made me serve champagne to his mistress last night. On our 20th anniversary, gasps echoed through the ballroom. Someone whispered, He didn't. He did, Victoria continued. And I let him, because I had forgotten who I was. I had forgotten that before I was Mrs. Marcus Sterling, I was Dr. Victoria Matthews. I was a surgeon. I saved lives. I had value beyond being someone's wife. Marcus started moving toward the stage, but several men stepped into his path. Wall Street might be cutthroat, but it still had some codes of honor, and publicly humiliating a pregnant wife broke most of them. Victoria continued, her voice growing stronger. This charity means so much to me because it supports women at their most vulnerable. Women who, like me, might have lost themselves in relationships that diminish them. Women who need to remember their worth isn't determined by the men in their lives. Brittany's voice cut through. This is ridiculous. She's just bitter because she couldn't keep her man. The crowd turned on Brittany instantly. These were mothers, grandmothers, women who had seen too much to tolerate such disrespect. Mrs. Astoria, the grand dame of New York society, spoke with withering disdain. Young woman, you're speaking about a lady who has contributed more to this city's charitable causes than you've spent on those tacky shoes. Show some respect, or leave. Victoria raised her hand for silence. It's all right, Mrs. Astoria. Ms. Chen is young. She doesn't yet understand that when you build your happiness on someone else's misery, you're building on quicksand. She looked at Brittany directly. I hope you never experience what I have. I hope Marcus treats you better than he treated me. But statistics suggest otherwise. Men who abuse their wives don't become Prince Charming for their mistresses. They just find new victims. I'm not a victim, Brittany protested. He loves me. He loved me once too. Or at least, I thought he did. Right up until the first time he hit me. The room went completely silent. Marcus exploded. That's a lie, I never. The emergency room records from Mount Sinai would disagree, Valentina said loudly. As would the photographs. As would the police reports that Victoria was too scared to file, but that still exists in the system. Dr. Harrison, a respected physician attending the gala, spoke up. I treated Mrs. Sterling 5 years ago for injuries consistent with domestic violence. I urged her to file charges. I'm willing to testify to that. More voices joined in. I saw the bruises at the garden party. She wore sunglasses indoors for a month. We all knew. We just didn't say anything. Marcus looked around wildly, realizing that his carefully constructed reputation was crumbling. This is a witch hunt. You're all conspiring against me. No conspiracy needed, Victoria said. Just the truth finally being spoken aloud. She turned back to the audience. I'm sharing this tonight not for pity, but for power. The power that comes from speaking truth. The power that comes from refusing to be silenced. The power that comes from choosing yourself, even when it's terrifying. My donation tonight will fund a new program. Free legal services for women leaving abusive relationships. Free financial counseling for women who, like me, have been victims of financial abuse. Free medical care for women whose partners have hurt them in ways that don't always show. The room erupted in applause. Someone shouted, "We'll match your donation." Victoria. Others joined in. Within minutes, pledges totaling $30 million had been made. Marcus and Brittany were backing toward the exit, but the crowd had formed a subtle barrier. They weren't trapped, but they would have to walk past hundreds of judging eyes to leave. Victoria spoke one more time. Marcus, I want you to know something. I don't hate you. Hate would mean you still have power over my emotions. I nothing you. You've become irrelevant to my story, except as a cautionary tale I'll tell my daughter about choosing partners who see your worth, not your utility. As she spoke, she suddenly gasped, clutching her stomach. Victoria's hand went to her belly as a sharp pain shot through her. Something's wrong. The stress. The baby. Valentina rushed forward. Victoria, what's happening? The baby, I think. Contractions. Victoria gasped, doubling over. Dr. Harrison pushed through the crowd. Everyone back, I need space. Victoria, how far apart are the contractions? 3 minutes. Maybe less. It's too early. I'm only 36 weeks. The doctor's face was serious. We need to get you to Mount Sinai immediately. These could be stress-induced contractions, but we can't take chances. Marcus's voice cut through, finally showing concern. Victoria is the baby. Valentina snapped. Now you care, security. Keep him away from her. 2 security guards stepped between Marcus and Victoria. Dr. Harrison was checking Victoria's pulse. Ambulance is on the way. Who's coming with her? Victoria gripped Valentina's hand. My sister. Only my sister, Marcus protested. I'm her husband. That's my child. Victoria looked at him through her pain. You're not my husband. You're just someone I used to know. And this child will know love. Real love. Not whatever twisted thing you call love. The EMTs arrived, moving quickly and efficiently. As they loaded Victoria onto the stretcher, she heard Brittany say, Is she like faking it for attention? Mrs. Astoria's voice was ice. Young woman, if you speak one more word, I will personally ensure you're blacklisted from every respectable establishment in this city. As the ambulance pulled away, sirens wailing, Victoria heard Valentina on the phone. James, yes, we're heading to Mount Sinai. Call the lawyers. If Marcus shows up, I want a restraining order ready. Victoria managed a weak smile through the pain. Always prepared. Always protecting you, Valentina corrected. That's what family does. In the delivery room at Mount Sinai Hospital, Victoria fought through another contraction. Dr. Martinez, the head of obstetrics, monitored her carefully. You're doing great, Victoria. The baby's heart rate is stable. Just breathe through the contractions. Victoria gripped Valentina's hand. Val, if something happens to me, nothing's happening to you. You're the strongest person I know. Promise me. Promise you'll take care of my baby. Don't let Marcus. Don't let him turn her into something cold and cruel like him. Our baby, Valentina corrected. This child will have an army of love, starting with Aunt Val, but you're going to be here to raise her yourself. Meanwhile, in the waiting room, Marcus paced while Brittany complained. This is taking forever. Can't we just go, like, she has her sister? Marcus's mother Eleanor had arrived. Her usual composure cracked. Where's Victoria? Where's my grandchild? Marcus turned on her. Now you care. You've spent 20 years telling me Victoria wasn't good enough. Eleanor's voice was sharp. I was wrong. Victoria was too good for you. I see that now. James appeared in the waiting room. Right then, Mr. Sterling, these are divorce papers. Ms. Victoria wanted them delivered immediately. Marcus tore them up. She's not thinking clearly. She's in labor. James pulled out another copy. Right then. We anticipated that. I have 17 more copies. Back in the delivery room, Dr. Martinez announced, "One more push. Victoria, I can see the head." Victoria screamed, pushing with everything she had. The pain was overwhelming, but so was the determination. This baby would be born into freedom, not captivity. A baby's cry filled the room, strong and clear. Dr. Martinez smiled. "It's a girl, a beautiful, healthy girl." Victoria sobbed with relief and joy. "A girl, is she okay? Is she perfect?" Valentina was crying too. "She's perfect, Vic. Absolutely perfect. She has your eyes and your fighting spirit. From the sound of those lungs." The nurse placed the baby on Victoria's chest. The tiny girl immediately calmed, recognizing her mother's heartbeat. Victoria whispered, "Hello, my sweet girl, my little Sophia." "Sophia Grace?" Valentina asked. "Sophia Grace. That's beautiful." Sophie means wisdom in Greek. And grace, because that's what I'm choosing now. Grace over bitterness. For her, she'll know that her mother chose grace even when the world gave her every reason to choose revenge. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Marcus's voice came through. "Victoria, please, let me see her. Let me see my daughter." Victoria looked at Valentina, then at her baby. For a moment, she considered saying no. Then she looked at Sophia's innocent face. "He can come in for 5 minutes. Supervised." Marcus entered, and for a moment, seeing his daughter seemed to break through his arrogance. His face softened in a way Victoria hadn't seen in years. She's beautiful." "Victoria." "Yes, she is." "Victoria, seeing you like this, with our daughter. Maybe we can work this out. Maybe we can be a family." Brittany's voice from the doorway shattered the moment. "Baby, what are you saying?" Victoria actually laughed. "There's your answer. Marcus, you can't even pretend to be decent for 5 minutes." Valentina added, "The divorce papers. Marcus, sign them now, or we go public with everything. The embezzlement, the offshore accounts, the recording of your mistress planning to steal the baby." Marcus's voice went cold again. "You're bluffing about the recording." James played the recording on his phone. Brittany's voice filled the room. "Marcus already promised me that once the baby's born, we'll take it and raise it ourselves." Brittany gasped. "You recorded me, that's, like, illegal." Valentina corrected her. "New York is a one-party consent state, perfectly legal and perfectly damning." Victoria spoke firmly, her voice carrying new mother strength. "Here are my terms. Marcus, you sign the divorce papers now. I get full custody of Sophia with supervised visitation for you. I get half of everything, including the hidden assets. Or we go to court, and everyone knows exactly who you are." Marcus protested. "Half the prenup says, the prenup is void, fraud, duress, and hidden assets. Your choice. Marcus, sign now and keep some dignity, or lose everything publicly." Eleanor spoke up from the doorway. "Sign it. Marcus." Everyone turned to her in shock. Eleanor continued, her voice heavy with disappointment. "I didn't raise you to be this man. Your father would be ashamed. Sign the papers and pray this child never learns what kind of man her father really was." For a moment, Marcus looked like the boy Eleanor had once loved, lost and afraid. Then his face hardened again. But he took the pen James offered and signed the papers. "There," he said bitterly. "Happy now." Victoria looked at her daughter, then at her sister, then back at Marcus. "I'm getting there. Happiness isn't something you can take from me anymore. Marcus, it's something I'm choosing, one day at a time." As Marcus left, Brittany trailing behind him complaining about missing her Pilates class, Eleanor lingered. "Victoria," she said quietly, "I owe you an apology. 20 years of apologies." Victoria met her eyes. "I don't need your apologies, Eleanor. Just promise me you'll be a better grandmother than you were a mother-in-law." Eleanor nodded, tears in her eyes. May I? May I hold her? Just for a moment. Victoria hesitated, then nodded. Eleanor took Sophia with practiced ease, and for a moment, her harsh face softened completely. She looks like you, Eleanor said. That's good. The Matthews women were always stronger than the Sterling men. It was the first kind thing Eleanor had said to her in 20 years. 6 months later, Victoria stood in the garden of her new home in Westchester. It wasn't a penthouse, wasn't a mansion, but it was hers. Every room was filled with warmth and light and the sound of Sophie's laughter. The morning sun streamed through the windows as Victoria prepared breakfast. Real breakfast, not the protein shakes and egg whites Marcus had insisted on. Pancakes with blueberries, the way her mother used to make them. Good morning, my sweet Sophie, she cooed to her daughter, who was sitting in her high chair, cheerfully smearing banana on her face. Ready to start our day? The doorbell rang. Valentina's voice called out, It's me, and I brought bagels. Real New York bagels. Not those terrible things Marcus used to get from that overpriced organic place. The sisters sat on the porch, Sophie cooing between them, reaching for the flowers in the garden. Victoria had planted them herself, getting her hands dirty for the first time in 20 years. Marcus had always said gardening was for people who couldn't afford gardeners, Valentina asked. Any word from Marcus? His lawyer sent the child support check. No personal contact. I heard Brittany left him for a soccer player. Already, that was fast. She posted about it on Instagram. Apparently, Marcus was too controlling. Imagine that. They both laughed, and it felt good to laugh about it, to have it be funny instead of painful. Victoria reflected, watching Sophie grab at a butterfly mobile. You know what I learned? Val, I spent 20 years trying to be the perfect wife to a man who couldn't see me. But Sophie sees me. When she looks at me, I'm her whole world, and that's worth more than all the Sterling millions. You're pretty amazing in my world, too. Sis, Victoria smiled. Remember when we were kids, and we used to plan our futures? You were going to run a company, and I was going to be a doctor. We were close. You just took a 20-year detour. Some detour, but you know what, I wouldn't change it. Not if it meant not having Sophie. Valentina shifted, setting down her coffee. Speaking of which, I have a proposition. Remember your medical degree? The one gathering dust. Val, I haven't practiced in 20 years. But your license is still valid. I had James check. You kept up with the continuing education requirements even when Marcus said it was pointless. Victoria nodded. It was my rebellion, my secret. Hours of online courses while he thought I was shopping. Good, because I'm funding a new women's health clinic, free services for women starting over, divorce recovery, pregnancy support, career counseling, medical care for women who've been where you've been. I need a medical director. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. Val, I couldn't. Yes, you can. Your doctor, Victoria Matthews again. Sterling was never who you were. It was just a role you played for 2 decades. Victoria looked at Sophie, who was reaching for her mother's face with chubby fingers. What do you think, baby girl, should mommy go back to being a doctor? Sophie gurgled happily, and Victoria took that as a yes. Okay, she said. Okay, I'll do it, but part-time at first. Sophie comes first. Of course she does. That's what makes you different from Marcus. You understand that success means nothing if you fail the people who love you. Victoria rocked Sophie gently, her voice carrying hard-won wisdom. You know what I wish I could tell my younger self? That millionaire husband I thought was my happy ending was actually keeping me from my real beginning. I thought financial security meant giving up my power, but real security comes from knowing you can stand on your own feet. Even if they're shaking, Valentina added, especially when another woman is there to steady you. Especially then, Marcus had $3 billion, but he's bankrupt where it counts. We have each other. Sophie has both of us, and that's worth more than all his hidden offshore accounts. The phone rang. Victoria glanced at the caller ID and smiled. It's the hospital. They want to discuss the clinic proposal. As she talked, Valentina held Sophie, whispering to her niece. Your mommy's going to help so many women. Little one. Women who forgot their worth, just like she did. But she remembered, and she's going to help them remember too. After Victoria hung up, she was glowing. They love the idea. They want to name it after me. The Matthews Center for Women's Health and Empowerment. Matthews, not Sterling. I legally changed my name last month. Sophie's too. We're Sophie and Victoria Matthews now. Valentina raised her coffee cup. To the Matthews women, all three of us. They clinked cups, and Sophie clapped her hands, as if she understood she was part of something important. Later that afternoon, as Victoria pushed Sophie's stroller through the park, she encountered a familiar face. Jennifer, Brittany's former friend from the restaurant. Victoria, I mean, Dr. Matthews, I heard about your clinic. I wanted to say, what you're doing is amazing. Victoria smiled. Thank you. How are you? Better? I left my job at Marcus's firm. Couldn't stand working for him after everything came out. I'm actually starting my own practice. Family law. Helping women in divorces? That's wonderful. Jennifer hesitated. I also wanted to apologize for being there that day, for listening to Brittany say those horrible things. You stood up to her. That took courage. Not as much courage as what you did. Standing up to Marcus Sterling, one of the most powerful men in New York. That was incredible. Victoria looked at Sophie, who was babbling at a bird. I had a good reason to be brave. As they parted ways, Victoria realized something. The story was spreading. Not just the gossip, but the inspiration. Women were hearing that it was possible to leave, to start over, to reclaim themselves. That evening, as Victoria gave Sophie her bath, she told her daughter a story. Once upon a time, there was a princess who forgot she was a princess. She thought she needed a prince to be special, but then she had a baby princess of her own, and she remembered that real power comes from within. Sophie splashed happily, sending bubbles everywhere. And you know what the best part was, Victoria continued. The princess discovered she didn't need a castle or a crown or a prince. She just needed to remember who she was, and with her sister's help, she did. The doorbell rang. Victoria wrapped Sophie in a towel and went to answer it. A delivery man stood there with an enormous bouquet of roses. I didn't order flowers, Victoria said. The card says Victoria Matthews, the man replied. She took the card and read it. Congratulations on the clinic. You deserve every happiness. A friend who understands. There was no signature, but at the bottom was a phone number. Victoria called Valentina. Did you send flowers? No. Why? Victoria explained about the mysterious bouquet. Call the number, Valentina urged. Victoria did. A woman answered. Hello, Victoria. You don't know me, but I know your story. I was Marcus's first wife. Victoria gasped. His first wife. But he said more that I was dead, that I left him, that I was crazy. Yes, I know all his stories, but I'm very much alive, very much sane, and very much proud of you for doing what I couldn't. You exposed him for what he is. I had no idea you existed. He's good at erasing people, but I've been watching, waiting. I have information that might help with the custody arrangements, medical records from when I was pregnant with the child I lost because of his abuse, police reports he thought were destroyed. Would you like to meet? Victoria looked at Sophie, who was chewing on her toy giraffe. Yes, I would like to meet. They arranged to meet the next day at a quiet cafe in Brooklyn. Victoria arrived to find an elegant woman in her 50s, with silver hair and kind eyes that held shadows of old pain. I'm Rebecca, she said. Rebecca Chen. No relation to Brittany, thankfully. They sat, and Rebecca pulled out a folder. 25 years of documentation. I started keeping records after the first time he hit me. I was 22, just out of college. He was 30, already making his first million. Victoria looked through the papers, her heart breaking. The patterns were identical. The control, the isolation, the financial abuse, the physical violence that escalated during pregnancy. I lost my baby at 7 months, Rebecca said quietly. He pushed me down the stairs during an argument about money. He told everyone I was clumsy. His mother backed him up. Eleanor knew. Eleanor knew everything. She helped him hide it, paid me to go away quietly, $2 million and a non-disclosure agreement. But NDAs don't cover criminal activity, and I've been waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to him publicly. Victoria felt tears sliding down her face. I'm so sorry for what you went through. Don't be sorry, be strong. You did what I couldn't. You protected your child. You got out alive with your baby. That's everything. For an room, Rebecca pushed the folder across the table. Use this. Make sure he never gets unsupervised access to Sophie. Make sure the world knows exactly who Marcus Sterling is. Why now after all these years? Rebecca smiled sadly. Because I saw you on the news from that charity gala, standing there, 8 months pregnant, telling the truth to everyone. You were magnificent, and I thought, if she can be that brave, maybe I can be brave too. They talked for 2 hours. Rebecca had rebuilt her life, become a therapist specializing in domestic abuse survivors. She'd never remarried, never had children, but she'd helped hundreds of women escape situations like theirs. As they parted, Rebecca hugged Victoria. Take care of that little girl, and take care of yourself. You're doing important work with that clinic. You're giving women hope. That night, Victoria added Rebecca's documentation to her custody case file. With this evidence, Marcus would be lucky to get supervised visitation once a month. The next morning, Victoria's lawyer called. Marcus's team wants to meet. They're ready to negotiate. At the meeting, Marcus looked diminished. The past 6 months had not been kind to him. His company's stock had plummeted under Valentina's leadership. She'd discovered more embezzlement and was cleaning house. His social standing was destroyed. Even his golf club had revoked his membership. I want to see my daughter, he said without preamble. Victoria's lawyer, Miss Harrison, responded. Supervised visitation, 2 hours per month, at a court-appointed facility. That's ridiculous, I'm her father, Victoria spoke calmly. You're also a man with a documented history of violence against pregnant women. We have Rebecca Chen's records. Marcus went white. Rebecca's dead. No, Marcus, she's very much alive, and she's willing to testify about what you did to her and her baby. Suffernan, Marcus's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Marcus nodded, defeated. Fine, supervised visitation, but I want the right to petition for more access in the future. After completing anger management therapy and parenting classes, Victoria added, and passing a psychological evaluation. Marcus started to protest, but his lawyer stopped him. We accept the terms. As the papers were signed, Marcus looked at Victoria. I loved you once, you know. Victoria met his gaze steadily. No, Marcus, you loved the idea of me, the brilliant young surgeon who gave up everything for you, the trophy wife who made you look good, but you never loved me, the real me, because you never even tried to know her. She stood to leave, then paused. I hope someday you get help, not for me, not even for Sophie, but for yourself, because living with that much anger and need for control must be exhausting. Marcus said nothing, but for a moment, she saw something flicker in his eyes. Regret, self-awareness. She'd never know. 1 year later, Victoria stood at the podium of the Matthews Center for Women's Health and Empowerment. The auditorium was packed with women, all survivors, all fighters, all rebuilding their lives. Good evening, everyone, she began. A year ago, I was serving champagne to my husband's mistress while 8 months pregnant. Today, I stand before you as Dr. Victoria Matthews, and I want to tell you something important. Your story isn't over. The audience listened intently, many nodding with recognition. We've all been told we're too old, too damaged, too broken to start over, that we should be grateful for whatever scraps of affection we get, that our millionaire husbands, or any husbands, are doing us a favor by keeping us around. A woman in the front row whispered, Amen, Victoria continued. But here's what I learned. A millionaire husband who doesn't see your worth is poverty. Real wealth is surrounding yourself with people who value you. Real wealth is my sister, who stood by me when I had nothing. Real wealth is my daughter, who looks at me like I hung the moon. Real wealth is all of you, supporting each other through the hardest journey of your lives. She looked at the statistics on the podium. In 1 year, the clinic had helped 300 women leave abusive relationships. They'd provided free medical care to 500 women. They'd helped 200 women find jobs and regain financial independence. We're not just surviving, Victoria said. We're thriving. We're proving that midlife transformation isn't just possible, it's powerful. That financial independence isn't just about money, it's about freedom. That women supporting women isn't just a slogan, it's a revolution. The crowd erupted in applause. In the audience, Valentina held Sophie, who was clapping along enthusiastically. At 18 months old, Sophie was walking, talking, and charming everyone she met. She had her mother's eyes and her aunt's fierce spirit. After the speech, Rebecca Chen approached. She'd become a regular volunteer at the clinic. Beautiful speech, she said. Marcus would hate it, Victoria laughed. Good, although honestly, I don't think about him much anymore. He's become irrelevant to my story. The best revenge, Rebecca said, is complete indifference. Eleanor Sterling appeared, looking uncertain. She'd been coming to the clinic for months, volunteering, trying to make amends. Victoria, she said quietly, that was wonderful. You're doing important work here. Their relationship would never be warm, but they'd found a functional peace for Sophie's sake. Eleanor saw her granddaughter during Victoria's supervised visits with Marcus, and she'd proven to be a devoted, if complicated, grandmother. As the evening wound down, Victoria found herself in her office with Valentina and Sophie. The walls were covered with thank you letters from women the clinic had helped. Read this one, Mama, Sophie demanded, pointing at a letter with a crayon drawing. Victoria read it aloud. Dear Dr. Matthews, you saved my life. Not just medically, but spiritually. You showed me it's never too late to start over. My children and I are safe now because of you. Valentina smiled. You did that, Vic. You turned your pain into purpose. We did it, Victoria corrected. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Sophie toddled over to a photograph on the desk. It was from the charity gala 2 years ago, the night everything changed. Victoria was on stage, pregnant and powerful, speaking her truth. Mama brave, Sophie said, patting the picture. Yes, baby, Victoria said, pulling her daughter close. Mama was brave, and you know what Mama's going to teach you to be brave too. But more importantly, I'm going to teach you to know your worth from the beginning, so you never have to rediscover it. As they prepared to leave, Victoria's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Saw your speech online. You look happy, and I'm glad. M. Marcus. Victoria showed it to Valentina, who asked, Are you going to respond? Victoria thought for a moment, then deleted the message. No, that chapter's closed. Besides, we have dinner reservations, and I promised Sophie ice cream. Ice cream? Sophie shrieked with joy. As they walked out of the clinic, Victoria caught her reflection in the glass doors. The woman looking back at her was 44 years old. With laugh lines and gray streaks she no longer colored away. She was 15 pounds heavier than Marcus had allowed her to be. She wore comfortable shoes instead of the designer heels he'd insisted on. She was also a doctor again, a mother, a sister, a survivor, a thriver. She was, finally, completely and authentically herself. The October wind carried the scent of apples and possibility. Sophie reached for the golden leaves dancing past, and Victoria knew with absolute certainty this is what happily ever after actually looks like. Not a billionaire's penthouse, but a life built on truth, sustained by genuine love, and shared with people who see your worth even when you've forgotten it yourself. Val, she said suddenly, thank you for waiting for me to be ready, for believing I was still in there somewhere. Valentina shifted Sophie to her other hip and took Victoria's hand. You never left. Vic, you were just hiding. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to hide to survive. But when you were ready to come back out, I was here. I'll always be here. They walked toward the car, 3 Matthews women against the world. In his empty penthouse, Marcus Sterling sat alone, his empire crumbling, his mistress gone, his reputation destroyed. He'd kept the money, half of it anyway, but lost everything that mattered. But here in Westchester, in a modest house filled with laughter and love, in a clinic that healed bodies and spirits, in the arms of a sister who never gave up on her, Victoria Matthews had found something worth more than all the billions in the world. She'd found herself, and that, she knew now, was the only happily ever after that truly mattered. Sophie's laughter echoed through the parking lot as Valentina spun her around. And Victoria thought, 20 years as Mrs. Marcus Sterling nearly destroyed me. But Dr. Victoria Matthews, she's just getting started. The story that began with humiliation and servitude had transformed into one of triumph and service. The woman who once served champagne to her husband's mistress now served hope to hundreds of women finding their own freedom. And somewhere in the city, another woman trapped in another gilded cage read about Victoria's story and thought, if she can do it, maybe I can too. That's how revolutions begin, not with grand gestures, but with one woman choosing herself, and then another, and another, until the world can no longer ignore the sound of cages breaking open. Victoria buckled Sophie into her car seat, kissing her forehead. Ready to go home, baby girl. Home, Sophie agreed enthusiastically. Home. Not a penthouse prison, but a place of peace. Not a performance space, but a sanctuary. Not Marcus Sterling's showpiece, but Victoria Matthews' haven. As they drove away, Victoria realized the most profound truth of all. The opposite of narcissistic abuse isn't revenge, it's indifference. The opposite of financial dependence isn't wealth, it's enough. The opposite of invisibility isn't fame, it's being seen by people who matter. And the opposite of a 20-year marriage to the wrong person? It's not another marriage, it's a life so full, so complete, so genuinely satisfying that you don't need another person to complete you. You complement yourself. Mama, sing, Sophie demanded from the backseat. Victoria laughed and began singing Sophie's favorite song, her voice clear and strong. Valentina joined in, harmonizing like they did when they were children. Through the rearview mirror, Victoria caught sight of the city skyline, Marcus's building prominent among the towers. But it no longer loomed large in her life. It was just another building, housing just another man who'd confused net worth with self-worth. Her phone rang. The clinic. Another woman needing help. Another story of survival waiting to be written. Dr. Matthews. The voice was tentative, scared. I need help. My husband. He's like the man in your story. The billionaire who made you serve his mistress. Only mine's a millionaire. And I'm not pregnant. But I need to get out. You've already taken the first step, Victoria said gently. Come to the clinic tomorrow. We'll help you. You're not alone. She gave the woman the details, then hung up. Another soul to save. Another woman to remind of her worth. New patient, Valentina asked. New beginning, Victoria corrected. For her and for us. Every woman we help is proof that our pain had purpose. As they pulled into the driveway of Victoria's house, Sophie was already sleeping, worn out from the excitement. Victoria carried her inside, Valentina following with the diaper bag in the weight of shared history. The house was quiet, peaceful. Photos lined the walls, not staged portraits like in the penthouse, but real moments. Sophie's first steps, Victoria's medical school graduation photo, rescued from storage, the Matthews twins as children, before life complicated everything. Victoria tucked Sophie into her crib, whispering, Dream big, little one. Dream of a world where women know their worth from the start. Downstairs, Valentina had opened a bottle of wine, not the expensive vintages Marcus had collected, but never shared, but something simple and good. To us, Valentina toasted. To surviving, to thriving, to showing our millionaire ex-husbands that we were never the problem. To Rebecca Chen, who paved the way. To Jennifer, who stood up when it mattered. To Eleanor, who finally chose right. To every woman who's ever been told she's too much or not enough. They clinked glasses, and in that moment, Victoria felt at complete peace. The kind that doesn't come from having everything, but from having enough. The kind that doesn't come from being chosen, but from choosing yourself. Outside, the October moon rose full and bright over Westchester, over the clinic, over the penthouse where Marcus Sterling learned too late that money can't buy what matters most. And in her cozy kitchen, Dr. Victoria Matthews sat with her sister, planning tomorrow's clinic schedule, Sophie's upcoming second birthday party, and a life that was entirely, authentically, unapologetically her own. The billionaire had forced his pregnant wife to serve his mistress. The pregnant wife had served him divorce papers instead, And in the end, that was the only service that truly mattered.